Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I am Tony Gerdeman, here as always with Tom Orr and with Kevin Noon behind the scenes. Tom, how's it going?
Tony, I am so much closer to West Lafayette, Indiana than I was the last time we talked. So I dare I say, on the verge of living my best life.
Choices, Tom. Look back on your life and look where those terrible choices were that have brought you to this point of being happy. No, I like West Lafayette. I like all of the Lafayettes, honestly. I don't know if I have a favorite, but
the Marquis de Lafayette, I think, would have to be your best choice.
I mean, if we're talking about city designers.
Not even his favorite Marquis.
No, Biz Marquis is number one. Marquis de Sade, number two.
Mercury, Grand Marquis.
Yeah, no, but top 10 for sure. Not on the Mount Rushmore Marquis.
Tony, what was your favorite of the 10 seconds that the show was on the rails before it completely just leapt off the bridge into the river below?
Yes, yeah. Well, hopefully this will be the only time this weekend things go off the rails for anything associated with Ohio State for the Buckeye fans out there. But welcome to a Friday afternoon, trying to get a live show in before everybody heads home. For those of you who are at work and just counting away the hours, those who are not, thank you all for joining us. Go ahead and throw some questions in the chat. Go ahead and throw some super chats in there. We'll get to them. But we are here a short stone's throw away, an hour of a stone's throw away.
Joe Milton could throw a stone there from here to there.
Well, he would try to, but it would end up maybe in like Gary. You know, it wouldn't quite end up in West Lafayette. But so, here we are. Ohio State looking to win here in West Lafayette. They don't do it very well, and they don't do it very often. They're not here a lot. The last time they were here was
everyone knows the last time they were here.
Trying to think. The last time they were here, Tom.
Let's talk about the last time they won here. 2013, Tony. Let's keep things positive. 2013, Ohio State 56, Purdue 0. I am not expecting Ohio State to win by 56 points tomorrow. I'm not expecting what we saw the last time we were here in West Lafayette, but I'm also not expecting 56-0. I think a nice happy medium between those two is probably more in line with expectations.
28-28?
I don't think that's how numbers work.
Well, I mean, half of, 56? Anyway, is this offense at a point yet? When will this offense be at a point where you're like, they could score 56 in a Big Ten game?
When do they play Indiana again? They play Minnesota at the end of the year. I think they could score 56 then. And if you know what? They've got Michigan State on the schedule.
So that's
November 7th or whatever that
11th.
is. 11th. That's when they will score 56 points in a Big Ten game. This weekend, Purdue was 2-4, but Purdue, if you look at the underlying stats, Purdue's not bad. Like if you can go through all four phases of the game in terms of, yards per rush allowed, yards per pass allowed, yards per rush gained, yards per pass gained, opponent adjusted per play basis, they're just kind of average in everything. It's just a lot of, I think it's like 56th and 54th and just about everything. They're just kind of fine. 24th in passing offense per attempt, which is probably the strongest of those. But it's a team that's fine, but they're real banged up this week, which is not great for them. And so it feels like the path to Purdue winning this game probably involves Ross-Ade Stadium is haunted, and in Purdue's defense, Ross-Ade Stadium may be haunted.
Plenty of ghosts there, and not many of them are friendly, unfortunately, for Ohio State. But this is I watched some of the Iowa-Purdue game. I don't recommend that. I watched some of the Illinois-Purdue game. And watching both of those games, this is a very boomer-bust type of Purdue team, offensively and defensively. They can make some plays in the backfield. They can also give up the most number of 30-yard plays from scrimmage in the Big Ten this year at 14 in 6 games. Ohio State has given up 3. This is what you should see from Ohio State, the offense getting up some big plays. But they have so much capability, but they don't have consistency, and that's been their downfall. And sometimes they can put it together against a team like Illinois, which has similar issues, and it works. Sometimes it connects. Like like I wrote in like what I know, I called it button mashing. Like Purdue does a bunch of button mashing offensively and defensively. Sometimes they knock the guy out.
Yeah.
Other times it's, they just keep kicking the wall.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
You're playing Street Fighter against someone who's never played Street Fighter before, and you're losing somehow,
Yes.
and all the secret moves, and they don't.
And it's
you're
like,
yes.
Stop doing that.
Yes. Yeah. And, this is, I think what you've seen from Ryan Walters so far in his first year and his staff's first year, it's sort of vaguely encouraging. And you sort of have the sense that like maybe there's going to be something here in a couple of years. But this is, inconsistency is really a hallmark of a first-year staff where, you saw this with the Ohio State defense last year. They hadn't gotten everything quite installed. Everything's kind of new. You still, you're not just going on muscle memory. It's still like, okay, I have to stop and think for a split second, and so you're a little step slow. There's some talent here, and there's some, Brian Walters was a darn good defensive coordinator at Illinois last year. So you'd expect that that's going to translate at Purdue, but it's just not, they're not quite there yet. They started the year losing to Fresno State.
Good team.
Yeah, which is a good team, but, you're a Big Ten team. You shouldn't be probably losing to even a good Mountain West team. But when it's your first year as a head coach, like, yeah, that's the kind of stuff that happens early in your first year. Now it's kind of middle of the first year. They're not to the point where they're going to be threatening Ohio State, but this is a team that, I don't know. I don't remember the next time Ohio State comes to West Lafayette, but if Ryan Walters is still there, that's probably a more interesting game.
Yeah. What he was able to do at Illinois, what he did, I believe, at Missouri before then, like he's got this track record, but it's different being a head coach. As many defensive coordinators who become head coaches go on to find out, one in Boston College comes to mind, one at Pittsburgh coming to mind as well with Pat Narduzzi. So we'll see how he does. I know everybody really, really likes him. Ryan Day spoke highly of him. He's a young guy. He's energetic. Am I describing PJ Fleck? No, it's a different kind of energy.
And that's a terrible thing to say.
I may be the first person to ever throw those words at him, and I apologize. But right now it's going to take Purdue's best game, obviously, and not. I wouldn't say Ohio State's worst game, but Ohio State's less than good game for Purdue to come away. But that, as I keep saying, I think worse Purdue teams have beaten better Ohio State teams. So there's a rangefinder of this game for both of these teams where it's not out of the realm of possibility for sure that Ohio State goes in and loses this game, but it would take a very good Purdue effort and a decently poor Ohio State effort, but nothing we haven't seen from Ohio State. Like we've seen the effort from Ohio State, I believe, at points in this season that could be detrimental to them in this game.
Yeah, you said that better Ohio State teams have lost to worse Purdue teams here, and which Ohio State team was better than this year's team as we go through 2018? The offense was better. The defense was worse. They couldn't run the ball. I don't know that it's definite. I don't know that that's clearly a better team.
2011.
2011 offer not valid. 2009, that was a team that went to the Rose Bowl. That was like the ultimate Purdue game at Purdue, where it was just there was no reason. That was, I think, an unbeaten Ohio State team coming in against a 2-5 or something like that Purdue team, and then losing. That was the game where they just forgot how to play football because it was noon. Maybe I don't know that 2004 was not a good team. That was the week before the Michigan game, and then 2000 that was a Rose Bowl Purdue team. So I should say better offenses. Better offenses, yeah. 2018 for sure, better offense, but
similar running games.
Some similar issues there for sure.
Yeah, the good news is Ohio State doesn't throw the ball as well as they did in 2018.
Yeah, well, they can. I think the defense is much less likely to have. First of all, Rondale Moore is not walking through that door. That is a good piece of news. Number one for Ohio State, and number two, I am sure not expecting 49 points allowed on Saturday. I think, Tony, we have a super chat.
Sounds good.
Super chat, Ryan Dawes. Thoughts on the basic offense comments? Pretty funny, in my honest opinion.
Did you see this? The Purdue linebacker coming off of the practice field yesterday talking about somebody asking him about the Ohio State offense, and he's like, well, it's, they've got some good players, they've got some talent, but it's pretty basic, nothing that we haven't seen before in terms of some of the other teams. And my thought is, there have been some basic components to this offense this year. It's not as good as past offenses have been, rather, but also basic being a familiar word in terms of.
I was going to say Austin Kendall, right, from Oklahoma, the backup quarterback, and was that 2016? Yeah, that was. So I guess that can only mean one thing: huge day for Noah Brown coming. That's the only thing we can possibly expect.
Yeah, so I get what he's saying, and go ahead and say, is he lying? No, because he did he said more about the talent than he said. It's a pretty basic offense, once, and then would go on to say talk about the talents. But this is something that will reach Ohio State, has reached Ohio State. I'm pretty confident in that, especially just wait until, say, TV shows tonight when Lou Holtz is repeating hey, Ohio State has a basic offense.
So many directions to go with that. I don't know that basic is necessarily. Well, first of all, I don't think it's really accurate. I mean, this is not they're not running as much stuff necessarily as they have in the past. But I mean, they've mixed stuff around maybe more on the ground than they typically have. I mean, and that's a lot of that is we have to find something that works and haven't found it yet. So you're mixing stuff up more on the ground. And I mean, they run the same concepts through the air. You see mesh, you see 4-4. I mean, this is Ryan Day goes back to a certain staple of plays, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. Basic is one of those things that it's probably not the word that if you had it to do over again, you would use. But I guess I know what he's saying, but I also understand why Ohio State people are going to take that as a slap in the face.
Yeah, and we'll see. Will there be signs up afterwards about the basic offense, we're the basic defense in 2016? To me, I think this should be a challenge to Ohio State's offense. Not just take this personally, but take this as constructive criticism from a defender who's been watching tape all week on what the offense is and how you think Ohio State's offense is far superior to everybody in the Big Ten. They have the best total offense in the Big Ten. They're, I think, second or third in scoring. Michigan's on top scoring wise, but this is an offense right now that isn't as superior as it normally is in the Big Ten, and it needs to get there. That I think starts obviously with the offensive line, goes on to Kyle McCord, the running backs. We kind of just lump the running game and point the fingers at the offensive line, but I don't think the running backs have been fantastic. Obviously, Kyle McCord took some blame this past week, talking about how he needs to get off to a better start, get things going, be better on first and second down, so that third down is a more manageable situation. So, there are a bunch of guilty parties in this 5-0 number 3 team in the nation, which I think also needs to be mentioned. But there's been some self-reflection over the bye week. That's what they do. But this is another opportunity for them to, kind of maybe take that to heart a little bit. And they're not going to change anything, but it is just a little bit more information, a little bit more motivation, I think.
Yeah, it's, and this is not a week where you probably, I mean, maybe this helps with the focus a little bit, because I think it probably would be very easy to, last week against Maryland, you come in off the week off. That's one where you sort of know, okay, this is probably a top half of the schedule kind of game in terms of danger. So, the focus probably wasn't a huge issue going into last week. You got Penn State on deck. It's a road trip. It's against a 2-4 team. This is one that you could end up overlooking. Maybe that helps with the focus a little bit. But, I'm going to be – I think the motivation is not going to block anyone on Saturday. You've got to go do that. Your linemen have to get to the second level, or you're going to have some of the same issues you had last week. And – we'll see. And this is not a game where you should need bulletin board material, and bulletin board material is really only going to do so much for you.
Yeah. And still comes down to the lack of execution on the offensive line. And even when they do execute it, moving the line of scrimmage. Mm-hmm. And it's one thing to do everything right and just stalemate. They can't keep stalemating. because that's not how as you said, you can't get to the second level. The running backs have nowhere to go, and if you're not getting to the second level and they do have somewhere to go, there's a linebacker waiting for them. So there are plenty of things that really still need to be fixed, and I think a fast start would help them. Obviously, I feel like they can stick with the running game. I thought they should have stuck with the running game longer, and go ahead and feel free to run on second down last week, and they didn't do much of that, leading to more third and long. So I would like to see them run the ball more, and the weather, I know people are asking about it, might lead them to running the ball more, and also the addition of Travion Henderson. The last I saw, and I haven't looked in the last few hours since we got on the road, but it's like a 40% chance of rain, which meant, pretty decent. It's going to rain at periods throughout the game, perhaps.
The hour-by-hour forecast right now, local on the 8th, Tony. Showers at noon, 36% chance of showers at noon, 41%, 43%, and 39% through the 3 o'clock hour. So the appropriate dress, of course, would be a shower curtain to deal with the showers. This is not, wind of 10 miles an hour, 13 miles an hour. This is going to be a little bit annoying, but not, this is essentially what they played through last week against Maryland, where it was sunny and then it started raining a little bit, and then it was a little breezy, and then it was sunny again, and it was raining again, and it might be that, except without any sun. But this is not weather that should materially change the football game as it is forecast right now.
No, and watching from the press box, you could hardly tell there was any rain. I mean, did not impact anything. Kevin, impact anything for you?
Not until I got down to the field and it rained on me.
Yeah, I do. Actually did not stay for the entire game. I did end up going upstairs to the post game for the final 2 minutes because it was raining.
Princess doesn't like to get wet.
He's made of sugar.
Hey, I had my laptop. I had to protect it, and so I did. So we have this is going to be my second time covering a game at Purdue. Obviously, the first time was 2018, which was a crazy time. This time, as you said, there's no Rondale Moore, and that dude was that dude was awesome, and it was a shame he was injured the next year, because he was going to be one of the things to watch in college football in 2019. But there are no Rondale Moores. They do have some decent guys that they throw the ball around. They've got 2 running backs that are good enough. They're good. Devin Maccabee was a 1,000-yard rusher, so Tyrone Tracy has big playability, and they complement each other pretty well. So they're not nothing. They need to be taken seriously. And the way Ohio State has given up the run, it's only been here and there. They've never been run on. But they have it's a drive here, a drive there, but consistently nobody has run on them yet. And I don't expect that to change this week.
No, and you look at the stats this week, and it seems remarkably similar to the Maryland backs last week, where the main back, Devin Maccabee, 4.3 yards per carry. And that's, essentially what Maryland's leading rusher was coming into last week's game. I think it was 4.6, 4.8, something like that. And, Tyrone Tracy, 5.9 yards per carry. It's fine, but you're not, there's not a 7 yards a carry guy here, an 8 yards a carry guy here on any kind of meaningful number of carries. So it's, the offense, the rushing offense is fine. The passing offense is fine. It's Hudson Card. He's kind of a big name. He was a Texas guy, obviously, originally transferred up to Purdue. 63% completion, 7 yards an attempt, 6 touchdowns, 5 picks. It's fine, but it's not. There are no numbers there that jump out to you as this is an area where he's remarkable. He's not completing 80% of those passes. He's not throwing for 10 yards an attempt. He's not, his touchdown to interception ratio is at 4-1. It's just to put the yards per attempt in perspective, 7.0 yards per attempt for him, 9.7 yards per attempt for Kyle McCord. And I don't know that people are, Ohio State fans are looking at Kyle McCord and going, this dude is lighting it up. But he's, 65% completion, but it's 9.7 yards per attempt. So it's just, this is not a big play passing game, but it's also not a super consistent move the chains consistently passing game either. Kevin, super chat.
Murphy Serafino, who got in a super chat and then didn't have a comment, but later jumped in and just said, how's it going?
How's it going, Tom? Hey, I already asked that question.
Well, I guess we need to ask you the question. Tony, how's it going?
I was not prepared for this. I've never.
I should have given you some time to process before I
how's it
get
going?
your attention, then giving you some time.
You know what? I will say it's going pretty well. The 2-bedroom, 1 living room, kitchen setup that we have here is pretty good. Now, we have not stayed here yet, so we'll see how things go. But
People want to know who has the cot of shame on her.
well, funnily enough, who has the cot of shame, Tom?
That's not funny at all.
Yeah, Tom has the cot of shame. Tom lost bigly to me last week when he did not get any bold predictions correct. Not even the bold prediction that I gave him that was a freebie. He did not get anything. I, however, on the other hand, got 2, one of my own volition and one from Tom.
Shouldn't he have to sleep in the hall for his over?
See, Kevin, this is why we need you at the pre-meetings, the annual meetings, to come up with the rules, because nobody is more cruel and demented in terms of punishments than you.
And the Marquis de Sade.
The cot of shame, the bathtub of extra shame. This feels like 2024. We've got some wild road trips on deck for 2024.
Oh my gosh.
Just wait for Eugene after a long day of flying.
Yeah, just when you're on a cross country flight in a middle seat in coach, and then you have to sleep in the bathtub because someone failed to get to 5 yards per carry the week before. This is kids. So you want to be a sportscaster.
Well, and when you're out in Oregon, like, don't you just want to stay in one of those hippie hostels? And who knows what is the cot of shame in a hostel? Like,
I don't know, but I'm sure it smells like patchouli oil.
You sleep out in the yard. It's like, but there's 6 other people out there.
Sleep in the same hammock with Borat from Kyrgyzstan or something.
And it's not a hammock that is far off the ground. It's a hammock that is like a foot off the ground. So when you're in it, you're on the ground, but at least your feet are up. Which when then you wake up and you're like, your feet are completely asleep and like you can't walk. Maybe that's why so many people are stumbling around. I don't know. Anyway, things are going great, Tom. Thank you for asking me. Lovely here in a certain part of Indianapolis. Can't give our location, of course, because we are traveling with other people who don't even want us. Because I was asking Dan, photographer, like, hey, what room are you in? He's like, that's a need-to-know basis. This guy we've traveled with for years.
To steal a line from Mitch Hedberg, I can't tell you which hotel we are in, but I can tell you there are 2 trees involved.
So there you go. Thank you for asking. Thank you for the super chat, as always. The Hudson Card, very athletic guy, Ryan Day, talked about how they looked at him in recruiting. I think they offered him early, but he committed to Texas. He's, like, as you said, he's a Texas guy. Athletic, but has like 53 rushes for 35 yards. I think he's been sacked like 14 times. So basically, who knows how many yards he's actually, but he's not been a big threat. And if I go through
has run for 3 touchdowns though. So that's one of those things where it's 3rd and goal at the 5, and there's good coverage, and then or it's 2nd and goal from the 1, and you crash down on the running back, and he doesn't have the ball. Where's the ball? That you might steal a touchdown with him on the ground at some point.
He can do that. He had a rush for 54 yards against Wisconsin on 13 attempts. I don't know how many sacks in there, but last week against Iowa, he did 40 yards on 8 attempts. Obviously, some sacks in there, and then the week before that against Wisconsin, -20. So he's averaging a loss of 30 yards these last 2 weeks. If he is, there's like somewhere between that 54 yards and that -30. Do you expect him to be on the positive side? Because I do expect Ohio State to sack him. I do expect him to tackle him in the backfield even when he's trying to escape. Like I expect some big time negative plays to happen in this one. So I won't be surprised if if he's negative again in this one. But also the next time Tommy Eichenberg has a chance to knock a quarterback out like he did Talia Tagovailoa on a 3rd down scramble or whatever, like he may have that opportunity in this one. He's got to make sure that you bring Card down and don't let that play just get past you like they did last week.
That would be a Hudson Card fold.
There you go. House of Hudson Card down. Tom, go ahead now.
Purdue averaging 2.33 sacks allowed per game. That is tied for 86th in the country, with Bowling Green and Southern Miss and Texas Tech and South Alabama and Troy and Nebraska and Virginia Tech and Tulsa and Mississippi State and a lot of teams you don't want to be lumped in with there. It does feel like a game where I'm not expecting him to finish with negative 30 yards rushing or anything like that, but somewhere in the negative 10 to 20 range maybe feels about right, where you get to him 2-3 times, something like that. He picks up a couple first downs or a couple runs here and there, but this is not vintage Braxton Miller or anything that we're talking about here, but just a lot like Talia Tagovailoa last week, where he's not going to kill you with his legs, but he can hurt you with his legs at times.
And there was a scramble by Talia Tagovailoa last week that he ended up throwing to Josh Proctor's guy, and it was just out of reach. It could have very easily been a touchdown. If Purdue has a chance of winning this, they have to hit those. They have to hit that probably twice to because I don't know how much Ohio State is going to score in this. I'm still not on the mode of 49, 56, 63 in Big Ten play. Like, I'm still in the 30s. And if you can hit 2 big plays like that, now you're talking about fourth quarter, it's a score or 2 away if you've hit 2 of those plays. And then also that makes everybody paranoid, and the defense starts to maybe clinch up a little, and you can't get busted. Now, they still have not given up a pass play of 40 yards, if I recall, because they didn't last week, and they had not prior to last week. So this would be I think Purdue would need maybe a couple of those to pull this one off.
Yeah, I don't think this is – I think this feels like a game where Ohio State's going to be – it's going to be probably a little closer than Ohio State fans want it to be, but not one where they're in any crazy danger or anything like that. Purdue's had only 1 play of 50 yards all year, 4 plays of 40 yards all year. That's tied for 99th in the country in plays of 40 yards or more. I'm going to give you some of their neighbors on that list, and I'm just going to pick the Big Ten teams out here because it feels like this paints a very specific kind of picture, Tony. What if I told you were living in a neighborhood with Rutgers and Northwestern and Michigan State, and you then would say, wait, I didn't know there were that many houses on the Baltic and Mediterranean block of the board of the Monopoly board?
I would be like, can I just go directly to jail, please? Just please send me to jail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's those are not the people you want around you. That's where you look around and go, oh, this is when they say location, Tony. This is not. I mean, this is not the kind of location you're looking for.
I want to go back to the Ohio State offense and talk about that, because when you look at what Purdue has done against the run this year, it's not been good. Gave up 181 yards rushing to Iowa last week. Now, there was a long one in there, like 60 or 70 yards right to start the game. But still, after that, they gave up 110 yards rushing to Iowa, which is also not good. But 271 yards rushing to Syracuse, 195 to Wisconsin, 149 to Illinois. To me, Ohio State has struggled running the ball this year. But you get TreVeyon Henderson back. Even without TreVeyon Henderson, Ohio State should be able to run on this team. Mm-hmm. And just based on Purdue's lack of being able to stop teams so far this year. Now, these teams stick with the run. And that's something, as I said, I think Ohio State needs to do, because it's not – they're giving up 4.5 to Wisconsin, 5.2 to Iowa, but they're sticking with it. They're running it. Now, I'm not expecting 271 like Syracuse, but Syracuse averaged 6.2 yards per carry. I think past Ohio State teams would be able to do that. Can this team?
Yeah, past Ohio State teams could do a lot of things. 6.2 yards per carry seems like a big ask for this team without it being, and they had a 97-yard touchdown run on one of them. If you're trying to do this the hard way without a lot of, without multiple long carries, I think that's going to be hard to get to. Now Syracuse did that on 40 something carries. So they're not going to get anywhere close to that number of carries. But if you would love to see, as an Ohio State fan, you would love to see 6 yards a carry in this game, and that doesn't mean it's fixed, but it means, okay, maybe they've found something here, because you don't have to solve the issue this week, but you need to have the issue resolved to a point where it's functional next week against Penn State. You don't have to run for 6 yards a carry against Penn State, but you've got to be able to pick up 3rd and 1. You cannot have swing and a miss on 3rd and 1 and swing and a miss on 4th and 1. That's not going to get it done against Penn State in a week. So there has to be tangible progress this week. It feels like, because there's an opportunity that this is not a remarkable defense that they're facing. It's okay, but it's not remarkable, and there should be some progress this week.
6.2 yards per carry is OSU's high water mark so far this year against Western Kentucky.
That's not great.
No,
That's
it's
not strictly speaking what you're looking for.
If they have the same performance that they did against Maryland, then the time for panic is now in terms of the running game. You're not going to run it against anybody if you don't run it for a decent number of yards. If you run it for 2 yards a carry like they did against Maryland, then don't shut the season down.
Yeah.
But put up a sign. Go ahead and bring in Spirit Halloween.
Well, yeah, you're not shutting it down, but boy, I think you need to. At that point, you need to make alternative plans. Like your plan A is going in the shredder, and now you've got to play left-handed a little bit.
Maybe you're not going to be a doctor.
Yeah, that's it's probably not that's not great. You as an Ohio State fan are really hoping to see something better this week. Tony, I have a tremendous trivia question for you.
All right.
Purdue has 6 plays from scrimmage this year of 30 or more yards. That ranks them 123rd in the nation. Question number 1, is that good?
It is not.
Good, correct. Question number 2, Kevin passes. That's
No, I said Tony's answer was
Yes.
passing grade.
yes, okay. Question number 2, how many Big Ten teams rank below Purdue as the 123rd team in the country?
Well,
I don't need you to name them. I just need a number. How many?
3.
3 is correct. Man, 2 for 2. All right.
Did I
Tony,
pass?
Not yet,
Pass.
because I think you've got a very good chance to get
All right.
2 of these 3, and I think the third one is going to be jaw-dropping for you. Tony, name the 3 Big Ten teams with fewer 30-plus yard plays than 123rd ranked Purdue.
Iowa,
Incorrect.
Minnesota,
Yes.
Rutgers,
Incorrect. The Rutgers is
Michigan
one
State.
ahead. No.
I'm going to name all the teams. Northwestern is one of them.
No. See, this is where you've totally redeemed yourself.
Illinois,
No.
Ohio State.
It is a team that Ohio State has played.
Oh, Maryland.
No.
Yeah.
Indiana is correct. Okay, so those are the 2 easy ones. Those are the 2 easy ones now that you've gone through 2/3
all right,
of the
so
Big Ten. So
Penn State.
Indiana, Minnesota, and Penn State.
Yeah, they're station to station.
Penn State, 5 plays of 30-plus yards, good for 127th in the country. Tony, how many plays of 40-plus yards does Penn State have this year?
1.
One. And how many teams in the nation have 1 or fewer? I will remind you, there are 133 teams in the.
So you're saying how many teams have 1 or fewer?
How many teams other than Penn State have 1 or fewer plays of 40 yards this year?
6.
None. Not a one. Penn State stands alone. Tony.
Unrivaled.
Unrivaled. Thank you.
Yeah.
Tony, unrivaled Penn State.
Wow.
Boy, that's I'm aware of Penn State's whole deal this year, but I was not aware of that.
This now makes some sense with the person asking James Franklin, why don't you just throw it downfield? Just have Drew Allen just throw it up downfield, because clearly we've heard he's like a check down Charlie at this point, where he's checking and not throwing the ball downfield. And James Franklin's reaction to, like, we would never do that. I was like, you guys used to do that all the time.
Do you remember Deep State? That was the whole thing. That was literally the whole bit the last time you guys were.
Was it Jay Sean Hamilton? Like, they would just throw up to him and
Trace
all of those guys.
just arm punting it down there, and then Tony.
We would never.
Tony.
All right.
How many plays of 20 or more? And by the way, Ohio State plays Purdue tomorrow. We'll get to that. How many plays of 20-plus yards does Penn State have this year?
Oh, come on, Tom. I'm going to say easily 10.
12.
Okay, good.
Where does that rank them?
Probably like 129.
133. And I will remind you again, Tony, there are 133 teams in the nation. Teams ahead of them. Northwestern, 3 more. Minnesota, 5 more. Rutgers, 6 more. Rutgers, 50% more plays of 20 yards this season from scrimmage than Penn State. We've got to stop doing Michigan Monday. I'm fascinated. I've watched just enough of this Penn State team to kind of go, yeah, the defense has sort of been setting them up a bunch of short fields, and they've just sort of put up a bunch of points, but they haven't played anyone good yet. And boy, howdy, that is
Penn State Thursday.
Wow, that is.
It's a good thing the defense
grim.
is playing so well, and this is one of those things where I talked about with Michigan how people still had them ranked #1 in the nation after like 4 games, and it was because they weren't watching them. Nobody's watching Penn State either, including us.
Yeah.
Or else there would be more concern. And it is interesting, and we cover Ohio State. We're there every day, so we're the perception, the perspective that we have is different. But not all of the questions. So many of the questions to Ryan Day on Tuesdays or Thursdays, Wednesdays are negative in terms of why is this so wrong? Why is this so bad? And when I watch the same things at Michigan, and I don't watch it enough, but it just seems the mood there from the questioning and the players and the coaches on the sideline, like everything seems very confident and comfortable, even though like the 2 performances have not been all that different.
No.
But I think the expectations for Ohio State's offense is much different than it is for Michigan, because there's this history and it's been different. What's going on in Michigan with their offense is no different. What's going on with Ohio State's offense is different relative to what they've done in the past. So like when things are different, you want to talk about it. When things that are different at Michigan are good, then it's like the questions are going to be good.
Yeah, well, when your kid that usually comes home with A's brings home a B-, you kind of go, hey, what?
Get the belt.
What?
Where'd you learn to do those drugs? I learned it from you, Dad.
I learned it from Tua's dad.
The views of Tony Gerdeman do not represent the views of the Buckeye Weekly Podcast, vis-a-vis parenting, or anything else. Tony, it's Purdue week. I'm gonna respectfully ask you to stop talking about Penn State and Michigan. We're gonna let's focus on Purdue, Tony. Tony, plays of 10 plus yards this season.
Yeah.
We're gonna just go down the line here. Which team has more? We're gonna call this
or that.
We'll workshop a name.
10-yard fight.
10-yard fight is a tremendous now. All right, 10-yard fight. Okay. So Purdue versus Iowa. More 10-yard plays. Who you got?
On offense, well, I think Iowa probably took over the lead based on their game last week. So I will say, no, I'm going to have to go Purdue. I can't go Iowa.
Purdue 89, Iowa 51.
Yeah, you can't take Iowa in anything offensive.
I'm going to tell you 20-yard plays, 21-21.
Probably close.
Tied. The two tied. Okay, 30-yard plays. Who has more, Iowa or Purdue? And I will remind you, we're talking about offense.
Oh, I thought that was under oath. I'm going to say Purdue.
Iowa 11, Purdue 6.
Wow.
Yeah. 40-yard plays, Purdue has a 4-3 lead.
Mm-hmm.
Iowa then has 3 50-yard plays, just one for Purdue. We have a super chat, I think, unless Kevin's just stretching. Kevin is just stretching. Super chat from Kevin.
Thank you for the
super chat, Kevin.
What were you? Kevin, the people want to talk about Peacock, which is a service on the internet streaming service for $5.99 a month. If you are a Spectrum customer, you might be able to get it for free for a year or for a month.
Amex Platinum?
Amex Platinum for all of the people out there. If you are, go ahead and throw a super chat in as well.
Amex?
American Express.
American Express?
What?
Amex.
Amex. Who says Amex?
Okay, online.
Sorry. I used to get the free CDs for America in line. Sorry.
Or if you want to throw your Visa into the super chat as well, we'll take that also.
Anyway,
Peacock. I guess I'm not the right person for this because I have accepted it. I've adopted it. I've moved on. There are people, and I've talked about like on other shows, like my mom is probably not going to have any idea that this is on the internet. She does not have Wi-Fi. She does not have the internet up in Northwest Ohio. Like although it's probably been on the radio, and she's one of the few people that still listens to like local radio. So I'm sure they've talked about it there. But she would have no way. She's going to have no way of watching this, and so I know she's not the only one. Mm-hmm. So that's a thing where, especially if you're living out in the country, you may not have the best internet. There are ways to get the internet. This is 2023, but this is something that is, you just have to accept it and you have to deal with it. This is part of the millions and billions that you're getting from NBC. And if you watch basketball at all, there's like 8 Ohio State basketball games that are going to be on Peacock. This is just the start, and get used to this. Get used to a Friday night game every year. Like this is the new world. This is the cost of being on television all the time, and it's better than it was 30 years ago when you could only be on television so many times, or you could maybe get it on local if you were lucky. This is it. I understand the complaints, the logistics of it. I'm already paying for cable. Why should I have to pay for this? Like I pay for this, and there is all of that, and they're just going to continue to bleed and bleed and bleed you until you decide, well, I'm not doing this, and then they'll be without you, and they're okay with that. Like the cost of seats at Ohio Stadium are so high that they're okay not selling out.
Yeah,
because it's better than selling out at a lower price.
Right. The goal is not filling the stadium. The
Right.
goal is profit maximization, and sometimes selling 90,000 tickets at $80 a pop is better than selling 100,000 tickets at $60 a pop or whatever. I mean, that's, if it makes you feel any better, this is far from the biggest way that TV is ruining college football. So that's, you have that to look forward to if you want to be an optimist, I guess. This is one of the things where, I guess this is a line in the sand point for some people, and maybe some people just don't have, aren't set up, equipped to run something like this. What is it, $6 a month? Like for now. Right. Yeah. And so, it's just, it's incrementally just a little bit more of a pain in the butt. If you're worried about the $6 going to a sports bar to watch, you're going to spend more than $6 on whatever you're eating there or drinking there. So, if you have a friend that has Peacock, like, bring over a 6-pack of beer and call it even. It's, I'm honestly more troubled by the Friday night thing that came out this week. Like, you don't have to, it's like the NFL is just like slowly creeping and taking, every day of the week is now an NFL day. You're sort of slowly getting there. Tony, what is Friday night for?
Friday night is for high school football, boxing.
It's not 1950 anymore. I regret to inform you, it is just for high school football. Yeah, you can just leave Friday nights alone and you can have a game on there that's like, you want to have a MAC game or a whatever Mountain West game, like that's fine, whatever. You should not be playing an Ohio State game on a Friday night. You should not be playing a Penn State game on a Friday night. You should not be playing a Wisconsin game on a Friday night. There are high schools in all of those states that rely on gate revenues. It is ridiculous but it's, this is
there's a TV slot available.
There is a TV slot available, and this is, result number, 5,000 of, well, we've made everything else in the sport subservient to TV because we want to maximize our TV revenue. So, so therefore the in-stadium experience is not as good as it used to be. Therefore, the time slots are not as convenient as they used to be. Therefore, you've got more midweek games because they have to, they've got more opportunities to fill those TV slots. You've got Colorado playing at 10 in the morning. You've got Colorado playing at, 10 at night. You have shoved everything down the priority list below. Give me that cash from the TV people. And I mean, that's okay, but for fans, they don't really give a crap how much money the TV conference or the TV schools are making. It just makes it a slightly worse experience for them.
Yeah, the Friday night thing, and once it came out a month or so ago that SmackDown, like Fox wasn't going to re-up SmackDown, then it's like, well, that is clearly going to be college football on a Friday night, and then you throw in 2 more Big Ten teams into the other 2 that are coming in, and you've got so much inventory now, and you've got slots that you want to put them in and not hide them, and you've got places where you can put them in front of everybody, and that's what you obviously want to do if you are the network. So they will do that. I know Ohio State logistically has said we can't host a Friday night game because we have parking lots full of students, and there is no room for an influx of people. Like we went to Northwestern a couple of years ago, that's the stadium is basically in a neighborhood,
Yeah,
like an Upper Arlington or a Grandview,
Mhm.
and we've had to park at an elementary school. Like we would park at like Grandview High School or something like that if this was a similar situation. But you park at some school like 8 blocks away, and then you walk over. Like at Ohio State with the 70,000 more people at that game than at Northwestern, and all of the parking lots full. You just can't do it.
And 70,000 more people, and rather notably, not an L system that's set up to mass transit people in. I mean, you can park at the fairgrounds and take the COTA bus over. That's, I think, is still a thing people do, but that's not set up to bring in train loads of people on the purple line like it is at Northwestern. So, yeah, it's logistically a terrible idea, but also in terms of the sport that feeds into the college football machine, feeds all these, the next generation of players, and schools which the Ohio State football coach has to maintain good, positive relationships with and not undercut their gate revenue. Like this is a terrible idea for so many reasons. It's really impressive.
Yeah, and when that gate revenue is like 5 or 6 games, and you're cutting into 1 or 2 of those, probably one of those, a hefty amount, like you're screwing with the budgets, you're screwing with stuff like that, and so that you can, make way more money than any high school is going to see, other than the ones in Texas, of course. But the logistical thing, I saw somebody mention, like in California, it's just going to be impossible, like UCLA or USC. I'm like, well, those aren't really campus venues, so that would make it easier, but you still have to get there well before traffic. Like I'm just imagine an 8 p.m. kick at Ohio Stadium, and how bad 3:15 would look at like 5 p.m.
Well, and we've been out at the Rose Bowl multiple times and taking the media shuttle back from the practices at 2:00 in the afternoon on a Wednesday between Christmas and New Year's, which is like you should be able to just like walk down the middle of the freeway and have no concerns, and you're sitting in traffic. And that's 2:00 on a Tuesday in the week before Christmas and New Year's. And and it generally happens right by where the Coliseum is. I mean, like right by where the Coliseum is. So if you were playing a 8 p.m. Eastern kickoff game there, and it's Friday night, and so people are trying to pull in at 3:30 p.m. on a Friday, what do you think traffic's like? I mean, there is a reason Dodger fans show up late for the games, and it's not entirely their fault. It is because, hey,
they're lazy.
Traffic is. I didn't want to say it out loud, but it's because traffic is terrible. Yeah. I mean, my family was at a Dodger game this summer, and we sat up in the upper deck and was looking out at the parking lot, and my daughter's like, "Why are there cars coming in? It's the 4th inning." I was like, "Oh no, it's like a stream of cars coming in the 4th inning," and this was just a random Friday in June.
If you build it, they will get stuck in traffic. So yeah, I mean, it's different. It's just part of the new change. I prefer Thursday to Friday.
Yeah, well, Thursday you're not messing with high school football. You're like, Thursday is not a night where,
But you can't compete with the NFL. And I get sick of the college attitude. Like, you can't compete with Amazon Prime now? I think this is an opportunity for you to compete and get it on broadcast television or cable television.
Pick the week that the Thursday game is the Bears and the Cardinals and go ahead and compete with the NFL. I mean, it's just like whatever.
But the short turnaround is also not a great thing for Big Ten. Big Ten coaches don't want that. You try to make, Fridays gives you one extra day to prepare. It's like, well, no, it's still one less than normal. Like
you almost have to have 2 teams where you schedule them a week off. The week beforehand, and then it works out.
The whole logistics of the scheduling thing. It would be fascinating to be in one of those meetings and have them trying to figure all of this out. And in terms of how many times you're out west, how many times you're on Peacock, how many times are you on 5 days, 6 days rest, that sort of thing. And because we're seeing Purdue get stuck on Peacock 3 times in a row, like you have to eliminate some of these continual, like the redheaded stepchild of this. You're always getting the Friday night games or something like that.
If you're going to get stuck on Peacock 3 times in a season, wouldn't you want to have it be 3 weeks in a row? Because then you buy 1 month of Peacock and then you cancel and you get your 3 weeks.
Very good point.
Three for one.
Yeah, I'm always thinking about ways to. Yeah, no, that's good. Because what you see with like the subscription services now is they'll have a show that will span a couple of months, so that you have to buy both months. And Peacock, right there, boom, $6, 3 games, $2 a game. Congratulations, Purdue and Ohio State fans. But just go ahead and go in with it now. And if you can't, yeah, I get it.
And if you like Big Ten basketball, you're gonna need Peacock as well.
Yeah, if you're that one person. But Tom Izzo's he's going to be at the game. He doesn't need Peacock.
Okay.
Ryan Day said he did not have Peacock. He had Paramount Plus.
Yes, because he watches Yellowstone.
Big South Park fan.
He said he liked to watch Yellowstone on Paramount Plus. So
that is the second time Ryan Day has mentioned a TV show. Do you remember?
Do they run on Yellowstone?
Prestone? What?
I said, do they run? Is there any running on Yellowstone?
No. I don't know.
Wide open spaces out there.
No running.
Not a 3rd and 1 in sight.
Hey, they were 2 for 2 on 3rd and 4th and short the last game. But do you remember the last TV show that Ryan Day talked about?
Was it Tiger King?
It was. At least the last one I can remember.
Sorry. To answer your question, yes.
It was.
Now I invite your follow-up.
What's Tiger King?
No, what show was it? Then I said Tiger King. Then I'm right twice. I really helped you out earlier. Okay, I really parsed it out earlier. Tony Gerdeman, fantastic improv partner. I've said it for years.
I did see somebody ask or mention it, is the Ohio State defense going to score? I kind of feel like the Ohio State defense is going to score. It has been a while since, let's say,
6 days.
No, I'm like a particular person. Like Tyleik Williams, has he scored recently? JT Tuimoloau has not scored in a while. He is due. I would really like to see, for his own benefit and maybe for everybody else's, maybe a big game from Jack Sawyer. Not just scoring, but just having him have a big game will maybe quiet some critics, but also just give him some momentum, because I kind of have this backlash towards the criticism, but if you watch it, you're like, where are the big plays? Where are you seem to see, and again, I hate seem, but you seem to see Caden Curry involved more in his limited action. So I think for Ohio State fans, for the Buckeyes themselves, for Jack Sawyer, if he can have a big game, maybe get into the end zone, I think that would be a huge step for them. I'm
going to go with Davis and Igbinosun. I think he jumps an out route and gets a pick six.
And how many penalties on this play? Well, a block in the back of his own interception.
Can he blindside someone on his own pick six?
He is going to seek out. He's going to have an open lane for that pick six, and he's going to seek out a defender and get it. Well, I had the angle, so he's going to go after a defender, targeting, ejected, but at least Ohio State gets the ball 1st and 10 at their own 50. It's not impossible.
It's technically not impossible. No.
Oh, super chat
from Jordan Kapler. I regret to inform everyone that against my better judgment, I was nice to Kevin Noon yesterday. To all that I've hurt with my actions, I truly apologize. I've taken the adequate steps to ensure this never happens again. I mean, I think we should really be the ones who judge whether the steps taken have been adequate to ensure that this never happens again.
I have not seen the steps, and here's my concern.
I will punch you guys right off the air. I'll do it.
My concern is if it's happened once, it could happen again. How do we make sure that it never happens again?
2.5 months and this SHIT rolls downhill to somebody else.
We're getting into political ad season on TV, and you know how they do the thing where they like black and white video and the music hits and it's like minor chords and it's like, is Jordan Kapler soft on crime?
Oh,
is Jordan Kapler soft on Kevin Noon? And listen,
Phrasing.
I approve this message.
Could have been worse. I would say vote no on issue Noon.
I think that's I actually went early and cast my ballot. And, voted early. Didn't want to take any chance.
Yeah. So thank you, Jordan. As always, I think it's just big of you to admit your mistake. More of us should be able to do that. One day I hope to make a mistake and admit it, but that day will not be today. Tom, let's we have all sent in our scores.
Our remarkably similar score predictions.
It's it is like I'm not even going to go there. I was going to say something inappropriate and possibly insulting to some people, so I won't. I will just say yes, Tom. Very similar scores. I will give mine first. I don't remember it though. It was 34-13, I believe. As I said, this is a Purdue offense, Purdue defense, up and down, can hit some big plays, but also will give up big plays. And I'm still not at the point where I have like the super confidence in the Ohio State offense to capitalize on all of their opportunities. I do think getting Trevion Henderson back, I almost just chalk up like I expect at least a 40-yard run for him at any given moment. They've got to hit some big shots, and I don't expect Emeka Egbuka to play. But Ohio State should score more than 34, but I just need to continue to see it and be convinced that it's going to happen, because the 37 last week was hard fought, and that you wouldn't have expected that to end up as 37 after the first half. So I went 34-13.
You wouldn't have expected that to end up at 37 with 10 minutes left in the game. That was a 20-17 game, and I think Ohio State had like second and 33 with like 9-10 minutes left in the game last week. So that was not a 37-17 game for most of the day. This week I had Ohio State winning 31-17. I think it's maybe they run the ball. If they can run the ball consistently, if they can, if they're in that 5-6 yards of carry range, absolutely, you could put on another 14 points there. You could get them into the mid to high 40s, and this could, that would be a little bit of a statement to me, like, okay, there's really something here. Maybe you get a defensive score. You could get it into the 50s. I kind of need to see it. Like I need to see it. I think you're going to get to 31 because you're going to hit some plays in the passing game. Even without Emeka Egbuka, you can throw I think Purdue is going to throw the kitchen sink at Marvin Harrison on Saturday, especially if Egbuka's not playing. So, maybe this is the big Julian Fleming game. Maybe that opens stuff up for
that would be a good bowl
Trevion Henderson, Cade Stover, Xavier Johnson, all of those people, you potentially are opening stuff up for them. I got to see it. I got to see the pass pro giving Kyle McCord time. I got to see Kyle McCord looking comfortable in the pocket and not feeling like you can see the clock being sped up in his head. Just all of those things. I want to see it before I really buy in.
Yeah. Kevin?
35-10. I think Ohio State shuts down the Purdue offense, especially without Tyrone Tracy. Like you guys, I have to see the offense have more success to really get past more than 4 or 5 scores in a game.
And if there's a defensive score in there, you can bump me up to like 41. I think that's what it will take. And it's not out of the realm of possibility. So anybody get anything else, Tom? You good? We're about at an hour right now. We're good.
We're 58 minutes. I mean, we have like 4 million questions in the queue. But
No. I'm sorry. Let's do some questions.
We can go
lightning round. Yeah.
Yes. Mozart's Ghost.
I'm not watching YouTube, so I don't have to.
I heard Purdue's right tackle is a concern. JT going to feast?
I think this is a very big game for JT Tuimoloau, and they're going to have to slide protection probably for all of that. So they'll do some things, and then Larry Johnson will have to make some moves if necessary, if they're not getting what they want. But I do expect Hudson Card to be under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I think this is an opportunity for Ohio State to, they don't worry about sacks, they don't worry about stats, but this is also an opportunity for them to maybe get right a little bit in that area.
Yeah.
El Suzago saying Tony wants a drink for your haste to get the show over with, but we'll get to the next one. We got
there are actually plenty of people who don't do hour-long podcasts on a regular basis. Believe it or not, couldn't be me.
Football Central. I want rainy conditions. This team needs to learn how to run the ball.
Yeah, I mean, you might get them. I don't think it's going to be rainy enough to really materially change the game plan, but it's going to be damp. I mean, it's going to be, it sounds like it's going to be light rain on and off is kind of what the expectation is, which is about what it was last week. You don't need, they don't need to be playing inside a dome in perfect conditions every week. So you're definitely not doing that. But this is not going to be a monsoon game where you just have to, figure it out on the ground because your passing is impossible.
Still, let's watch Ryan Day make the team smoke the entire pack. Just run the ball.
Kevin? Wingman Ted, with Purdue being so banged up and the forecasted weather, are we really able to learn anything from the Buckeyes this weekend?
Yeah, I think there's still plenty to learn because there's still plenty to get better at. And this is another opportunity to put it together and do things the right way. Because at this point, they're not doing things the right way with the offensive line at times. So if you are able to do that, regardless of who you are playing against, like last week it was Maryland, like they've not been fantastic against anybody. If you can be at your best against anybody, then that is a positive step. Well,
yeah, it feels like if you don't see it this week, that's going to be a real concern. I think you're not going to prove that you can do it forever if you do it this week. But boy, if you don't do it this week, you might prove that you can't do it forever. And that's, that's not great. That's not what you're looking for. Good question from Jonathan Dickens. Does Carnell Tate get to start this week? I'm going to say no. I mean, I think we're both assuming you might keep Emeka Egbuka off the field. I'm going to guess he might be listed as a game time decision. We don't know that yet. We'll find that out a couple hours before game time tomorrow. But I'm not expecting to see Emeka Egbuka at least for an extended run, maybe at all. But I think that's probably a Xavier Johnson start and not Carnell Tate.
Or G. Scott, if they just open up in 12, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I expect Xavier Johnson to take those snaps from Emeka, but also he'll bring in more Carnell Tate, I believe, because everybody says he's ready. And Brian Hartline said it. Kyle McCord said it. So if he's ready and you're down a man, then it's next man up, and he should play as much as Xavier Johnson has been playing. Basically, if he's the fifth guy, now he's the fourth guy.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, he had, one catch last week, and I would expect him to have a catch or two this week as well. David Sabera, are you ever worried about the defense any time of the game? I don't think I'm particularly worried about the defense this week. Purdue doesn't have a great rushing attack. Purdue has not had a great passing attack. The defense has been very good to the point that you're not sort of reflexively flinching every time the quarterback winds up to throw the ball down the field, or every time they run the ball and the running back gets past this line of scrimmage. You're not immediately going, oh, this is going 80 yards. I don't think this is a big week of concern. I'm expecting Purdue to move the ball some, and maybe they get a short field or whatever. I picked them to score 17 points. I think it's much more likely that they are 10 points short of that than 10 points above that.
Yeah, the more and more I think about it, I like Kevin's 10 points rather than my 13 points.
Yeah.
Unless there's a missed extra point, perhaps, because this is not a great offense. It's just a offense that is capable of big plays here and there, or even though they don't have any, they're capable of broken plays because of their quarterback, but they haven't been able to execute. So expecting that to happen against Ohio State right now seems a little bit much.
And Purdue can't kick at all.
Yeah.
Adam Baker wants to know over or under 52 for entertainment purposes only. I'm in my mid-40s. I don't know about Tony, but
I'll be 52 in November.
Oh, well, Kevin's old.
I would probably take the under. In fact, based on my score, I will take the under. You're right there, Tom.
I've got 31-17s that would get me to 48, so a little short of that. Yeah, I think we all went under on that. If it does go over 52, that's probably good news for Ohio State, because again, I don't see Purdue getting into the high 20s, so that if Purdue's going to be 14, 17 points and you get over 52, okay, that's a pretty good day for the Ohio State offense. Market X, Ohio State opened as a -5.5 against Penn State. Everyone keeps telling me they stink. How is that possible?
Because Penn State also stinks. No, it's a home game, but this would be a pick 'em at Penn State, with the 3-point home field.
Yeah.
So I just think that's a home field pick. Also, the people that are putting these things together see Penn State's offense.
Yeah.
And the people who talk about Penn State, who talk about college football, don't see Penn State's offense because they're not watching Penn State play against Penn State's schedule. They haven't seen them probably since the West Virginia game.
Yeah. I think if you look at Ohio State, or you look at Penn State and Michigan, they've both put up, solid performances that look, if you're just watching the halftime highlights, and they've played a lot of games that people haven't been watching because they haven't been competitive. If you just watch the halftime highlights, it's, oh, look, there's JJ McCarthy. He threw a touchdown. Oh, look, he ran in a touchdown. Will Johnson had a pick six, and Michigan won by 40. That's the extent of most people's viewing of Michigan this year, and I think that's true largely of Penn State as well. Both of those teams. That doesn't mean they're bad. I've seen a lot of people in our YouTube comments saying, "Look at these morons think Michigan's bad because they haven't played anyone." It's like, no, that's not what we're saying. We're just saying they haven't played anyone.
Right.
We're not saying they're bad. I think Michigan's quite good this year. I think Penn State's good this year. We're not saying they're bad. We're just saying they haven't really played anyone, so you don't really know. You've sort of seen signs that there's another gear there that they haven't hit because they haven't needed it, but we're all going to find out.
Definitely seen more from Michigan's offense than Penn State's offense, though.
Yeah. Big Chevy, what are your thoughts on the Big Ten officials this season? Yeah. Tony, why don't you take this one? I don't want to get fined.
Well, Tom, I was talking to somebody about their thoughts on Big Ten officials, and I want to protect his anonymity, so let's call him R. Day. No, that's too obvious. Let's go with Ryan D. Not great, but as long as at least they apologize, right? When they get it wrong, they apologize. I still have not seen a good look at the interference, the sideline interference that they got flagged for. They tried to show it, but it was so far off the screen that you couldn't really see it on the television broadcast. It's like, if it's that far off the screen, how is it interference? Like, how is it sideline interference? Because, did he have the toe in the white area? And
right. Well, you look at that versus Jimbo Fisher being out on the field to the point that the punt returner or interception returner, whatever it was outside of him on the field. He ran between Jimbo Fisher and the sideline, and Jimbo Fisher didn't get flagged.
Even Tom Izzo thought he was out there for too far.
Billy Tuesday, how does Penn State get to play the mighty Don Browners tomorrow? Well, their non-conference schedule this year was they play an FCS. I know they played West Virginia, I know, who coming into the year looked like they're going to be terrible and has been decent, but hasn't really beaten anyone, but they've been decent this year. They play UMass tomorrow, and they just play Delaware. That was who the other team they played. This is not an impressive Penn State non-conference schedule this year. But the reason they're playing a non-conference game this week is because they've already played 3 Big Ten games. They were at Illinois, they had Iowa, they had Northwestern. Again, not exactly a murderer's row there, but that is a game. This is a very well-timed game because Ohio State has to go on the road, and Ohio State's not playing the 85 Bears here, but they have to go on the road and play a Big Ten West team, and Purdue is certainly a better team than UMass is. So, Penn State, I'm going to wager, having been at Northwestern and then having a week off last week and then playing UMass, I'm going to guess that at the very least, as soon as the plane touchdown from Evanston a couple weeks ago, it was Ohio State week at Penn State, whether that, was official or not.
It would be interesting to know how that came about in terms of the timing of that, because that is a tremendous job of scheduling by Penn State. With just the last 2 weeks of that has been, you want to throw the last 4 weeks, I guess, including Northwestern in there, has been beneficial to them.
And they took the first half of that game off as well. Market X wants to know, is Tony happy the McRib is back?
I've only had the McRib once or twice, and it's been a couple of years since I had it, just to see what all the hubbub was about. And Kevin was just doing a thumb pointing to himself. So he is very happy that the McRib is back.
Kevin, a real big barbecue guy, loves to go to McDonald's and get some barbecue. That's why his banner on his Twitter is him with other barbecue guys who presumably also enjoy some good McDonald's.
Yeah, it's kind of chemically, I thought.
It's because nobody hates me more than I hate myself, so I go and I eat that.
Now, that's not true.
Yeah, how dare you, sir?
Well, I know never mind. But,
Jordan Kapler.
Yeah, true. But the trick is to go and get a McRib meal and an extra McRib. Make yourself sick, gorging out on it, and then you don't want it for another year. So that way you're only doing minimal damage. I'm only drinking a little arsenic.
See, I cut out the middleman there, and I just don't want it right now. I don't even need to go get it to not want it. That just, are there bones in the sandwich, or is it like
no, it's formed.
It's chicken
There's
nugget,
formed
but
rib
pork.
looking stuff of pig adjacent meat.
Formed.
It's right on the box. That's what it says. Formed looking stuff of pig adjacent meat.
I'm reminded of the time Homer talked about what you could taste in the hot dog. Anyway.
Anyway, well, great way to end the show after a great way to start the show. We do want to thank you all for tuning in on a Friday. We do always appreciate that. Thank you guys for the super chats. Thank you for all the regular chats. Thank you for just being here and talking to each other. Also, before we go, and now is a great time to check us out at BuckeyeHuddle.com. If you've not yet become a member, please do so. Say hello to us there on the message board. Check out all the things we've got going on there as well. If you're watching this and you haven't hit the bell or the thumbs up, please do that now. Subscribe on YouTube as well if you would like. Go ahead and hit the bell to be notified when we go live. I want to thank you all. Have a great weekend. Tom, what else?
It's 4:55 right now, so I think I get to do my Daniel Craig impression.
No,
Ready?
do it. Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, the weekend.